Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us on this Labor Day. And we're going to bring you tonight a special related to that day because it indeed is a special day. It's falling right in the middle of a very contentious election year. Election day just a couple months away, and the campaigns, they will be kicking into high gear starting today, historically at least. Now, the state of the American worker, though, has become a big theme that has resonated with the electorate, especially for Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. Each of them had success speaking to the angst that people are feeling right now. The middle class, no doubt, is stagnating. Wages stalling, factory jobs disappearing. All those factors, they helped to propel Trump to Republican nomination, and they enabled Bernie to mount a sustained fight against Hillary. Now, over the next hour, we're going to put a human face on all of this, and in a few minutes, we will speak with local AFL-CIO leader and discuss labor's role in this election, and we will also take an in-depth look at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. It is a tragedy that in many ways helped to spur on the labor movement as we know it in America. But we start with you, the American worker. Dr. Yasmin Bezin-Casino, she is here to talk about just that. She's an associate professor at Montclair State University. You know, one of the old maxims was everyone wants to do better than their parents' generation, and by and large throughout American history, that was the case. Can we say that now, that people, whether they're coming out of school, people in middle-class America, blue-collar workers, are they still doing better than their parents' generation, or is a certain group of Americans just not keeping up with the rate of inflation?
That's absolutely a big concern. I think in the recent years, we've experienced a big decline in manufacturing jobs. With globalization, a lot of blue-collar, high-paying, stable jobs have shifted to China. And it's not just globalization anymore. With rising technology, I think a lot of these jobs, think about the steel mills in Pennsylvania. They've shifted, they've closed because a lot of other technology does it a lot more efficiently. So we changed the rules of the game a little bit. For a lot of blue-collar workers who used to find stable jobs, they can't support their families anymore. They can't find jobs. And a similar trend is true for young people. Out of college, out of school, many of them expected to find jobs, and that's not the case anymore.
Let's try and put a face on who we're talking about. People can get inundated with data, but it's not just, you know, the auto worker in Detroit. We're seeing this across not just manufacturing jobs, but so many where people aren't just working one job. They're working multiple jobs. They're underemployed. Talk about some of the realities right now that clearly in this political season, different candidates have tapped into. There's a lot of uneasiness and fear, and a lot of people, it takes just one small thing to go wrong, getting sick, getting laid off, getting whatever, and then they're in a whole different world.
I think this election is all about the economy. It's not just the steel workers, it's not just the auto workers, but throughout our country, a lot of people have precarious jobs, not full-time employment. Most of them are in service jobs, retail jobs, and most of them are piecing together precarious work arrangements. But unfortunately, 3 bad jobs don't add up to 1 good job, and it doesn't have the stability or the predictability. And this, of course, has a lot of implications, not for our jobs, and it's not just money, but for our families and for raising our children.
And to that point, another development is, you go back a generation or two ago, it wasn't always common that both parents were working. In this case, both parents, more often than not, are working and they're still barely getting by. So there's no cushion there that, well, somebody else will join the workforce to make up for the difference. They're already there, or at least trying to be there.
It's dual earner couples, it's children, it's single parents, and most of the time young people work too, contributing to their family income. And most of them don't even have one job. Most of them are piecing together 2, 3 jobs just to have one paycheck. And this has important implications, not just for the economy, but for their lives, for their marriages, for parenting.
And also, Doctor, one of the other things we found is, you know, you go back a generation ago, there was pensions, there was retirement funds, there was people living longer, and that's a good thing. But the idea of just retiring at 65 and being okay doesn't work that way. Yes, we have Social Security, but a lot of those other savings that people counted on in prior generations, they're not there as much. That's not part of the compact that we had a generation ago for a lot of folks.
Oh, not anymore. You see a lot of folks who cannot leave their jobs. They can't retire because they simply cannot afford to. And the fact that we're all living longer means we're the sandwich generation, right? A lot of the baby boomers are taking care of their parents, the aging parents, and they're also taking care of their kids who can't find jobs. So they're sandwiched in between.
And beyond just the math and the dollars and cents, Doctor, there also seems to be a palpable frustration, anger, but also fear out there because they don't know how this changes. And in many ways, yes, the world is you know, it's a lot smaller than it used to be. You're able to ship jobs to a lot of other places. Certainly technology has changed that as well. That said, people don't know what the next chapter holds, and that's a scary proposition for a lot of American families.
We've gone through a big shift, especially after the recession. Many of the jobs, manufacturing jobs, went away. And even though we have a lot of new jobs, we created more jobs, they really haven't replaced those stable, predictable jobs. So we're in a new era. I mean, take Uber drivers, for instance, right? They have flexibility, they have control. On the other hand, they don't really have steady employment.
So where do you think the trend's going to go here? Obviously, we have political debates coming up. I'll be speaking to a guest in a moment about the political implications with labor in this. But what do you think the public wants to hear? Do they want to see, you know, America first, close all the borders, or do they realize that comes with its own share of problems? You can't export goods that way. Do they accept this as the new reality, or the pining for the good old days? Where are the hearts and minds of the American worker that in many ways feels left behind?
I think this is the beginning of a wonderful societal discussion that we can have, not just simply closing our borders, that's not going to work, but a serious discussion about where we are in our society and what to do with the changing economy that's exceedingly more precarious, what to do with flexible jobs, what to do with the gig economy like Uber or Lyft.
The consequences that we've seen where you have depressed wages, you have obviously a widening of the gap between the have and have-nots. Is this going to turn out when we start to see the kids today, as they start making its way through the ranks, already college unaffordable for a lot of folks, people that do go drowning in college debt, etc., are probably, when we look at these studies, really the telltale sign is going to be the kids right now in high school, etc., what they have looking forward to, because while the dynamics change, it seems to only be accelerating if unaddressed how big a problem this is going to be for such a big part of this country.
I think we have changed the rules of the game substantially. Even a couple of years ago, without a college degree, a lot of people could find stable jobs, support their families, buy homes. But for the young people today, many of them need college degrees, and not just college degrees, a lot of them need specialized education, they need skills. So a lot of them are finding it difficult to find jobs and even get into labor. And today, many of them are piecing together precarious employment, right? Service sector jobs, retail jobs, just to get by. And a lot of them are thinking, this is not long-term, this is not my real job, so I don't have to organize. But as a society, I think this is an important discussion we have to have about the shift in our economy and shift in our culture.
Hey, Doctor, I certainly appreciate the time. Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And when we come back on the other side of the break, it is an election season, and certainly the debate about labor, outsourcing of jobs, the middle class in this country has been a major one. We'll be talking to a guest who deals with labor, who represents labor, to find out where the hearts and minds of the labor union is. We'll be back with much more on this special Labor Day edition of RFL. Please stay with us.